Hi Grizzlies, this is Mrs. Sandoval, College and Career Advisor here at McMinnville High School. Today I'm going to show you how to complete the FAFSA and also give you a link on how to complete the ORSAA. The FAFSA is a free application for federal student aid. It is used by U.S. citizens, legal permanent residents, and other eligible non-citizens. The ORSAA is the Oregon Student Aid Application. It is for Oregon undocumented students with or without DACA. Undocumented students should not complete the FAFSA unless they are instructed to do so by the college. For example, some private colleges may request a PDF version of the FAFSA. The FSA ID, which is only used for FAFSA purposes, is a username and password to electronically sign the FAFSA and other federal student aid documents. The student will need one, and in most cases, the parent will need one as well. Unless the parent is undocumented, then they will not request an FSA ID. So you can click on this website that will take you to create the FSA ID. You want to keep in mind to use your full legal name as it appears on the Social Security card. Do not use your school email. That email will be deleted once you graduate. Parents must also have a separate email. When you are creating your FSA ID, you must verify who you are by either using your email or a phone number. We recommend that students use their email, again, a personal email, to verify that information. Phone numbers can be changed and that number can be assigned to someone else. So again, we recommend that you verify using your email. If you're not sure which application you need to complete, here's a chart that kind of explains that. So I'll just go through the first three. So if the student is documented and the parent is documented as well, the student will complete the FAFSA. The student and the parent will have to create an FSA ID. If the student is documented but the parent is undocumented, then the student will complete the FAFSA. If the parent does not have a Social Security number, for example, for work purposes, then they will use zeros for the Social Security number. The student will need an FSA ID. However, the parent will not. They will print a signature page, sign it, and mail that in. If the student is undocumented, then the student will complete the ORSAA. They can enter a Social Security number if they have one for work purposes. If not, they will enter zeros for them and their parents. They will not use an FSA ID. They will electronically sign the ORSAA by creating an account. Here are some resources to help you, for example, determine if you're a dependent or independent student and who your FAFSA or ORSAA parent is. This is a question that we get asked often. So if you go through these questions and you answer no to all of the questions, then you will likely be a dependent student and will have to provide parent information on your FAFSA or the ORSAA. If you answer yes to any of these questions, then you may be considered an independent student and will not have to complete parent information. Speaking about parents, we also get asked who the parent is for FAFSA purposes. So here is a chart that explains this. So are your parents, and that's biological or adoptive, are they married to each other? If yes, then you have two financial aid parents that you will report on your FAFSA. If no, do your parents live together but aren't married? Yes. So then you will also report both of their information. Let's say your parents are separated or divorced and are not living together. So which parent do you live with the most in the last 12 months? So let's say you lived with mom the most. So is mom married to someone else? If yes, You will provide mom and her partner's information on the FAFSA. If mom is not married to someone else, then you will just report mom's information on the FAFSA. Here are some additional resources that you can also go through, including next steps after completing the FAFSA or the ORSAA, if you are selected for verification, if your FAFSA is rejected, a financial aid ebook created by ACT that explains Financial Aid 101 and goes through different financial aid programs, a list of documents that will be needed in order to file the FAFSA or the ORSAA, and that's something that we update every year. Swift Student, which is a free tool to help you write a financial aid appeal letter. So you will be completing your FAFSA or the ORSAA using prior tax information. If by the time that you are actually going to college, your financial situation has changed from what they call prior year, then you want to make sure that you write a financial aid appeal letter. And this website will help you write that. It's not a guarantee that your financial aid will change, but it's important to make sure that you do that. So for example, from when you completed the FAFSA or the ORSAA, maybe a parent lost their job, or maybe you lost a parent. So that will help you write an appeal letter to be able to get more financial aid. So for students that are completing the ORSAA, here is a link to the demonstration that OSAC has created. So there isn't an ORSAA demo site that I could walk you through, but they have already created a video that shows step-by-step on how to complete the ORSAA. So now I'm going to show you how to complete the FAFSA. So first, I will show you an example with parents that have a Social Security number. Then I will show you an example with parents that do not have a Social Security number. This is just a demo site, so you will not be going to this website when you're actually completing the FAFSA. In this case, I am the student, and I have already created an FSA ID that I will use to log in to now create a FAFSA. So of course you want to read through this information. And so now you're going to start the FAFSA. You will always have two FAFSA options, the one in the current school year and then the one for the next school year. When you're completing the FAFSA, especially as a senior, you want to keep in mind that you are completing the FAFSA for the following school year. Okay, we a lot of times have students that complete the current FAFSA school year, and you don't want to do that because that's not when you're going to college and will be requesting financial aid. So you will be completing the FAFSA for the school year that you are requesting financial aid for. You will be asked to create a save key. And you can just enter that information on there. And because you logged in using the already created FSA ID, some of your information will already be loaded onto your FAFSA. So like I mentioned, this is based on the FSA ID. It has the student social security number, their first name, the last name, their date of birth. If you have a middle initial, you can enter that there. Then you're just going to go through the FAFSA. So you want to notice on here that this is the student's information. There will come a point where you're entering parent information, and it'll always show on here who it is asking for. So this is the student's email address. Again, that was created from the FSA ID. Then you can enter a phone number, and click next. So this is the student's information. Of course, for our students, the state will be Oregon. So have you lived in Oregon for at least 5 years? And then on here, are you a US citizen? So yes, no, but I am an eligible non-citizen, including legal permanent residence, or no, I am not a citizen or eligible non-citizen. If that's the case, then if you're undocumented, you should be completing the ORSAA and not the FAFSA. In this case, yes, the student is a US citizen. So what will be your high school completion when you begin college? So you will have a high school diploma. What college degree or certificate will you be working on when you begin the school year? Most of our students are going to be working on their first bachelor's degree. Will you have completed your first bachelor's degree? No. What will your college grade level be when you enter? Never attended college, first year. Are you interested in being considered for work study? We recommend that students answer yes to this question. If you are offered work study, you have the opportunity to decline that. But if you answered no on here, we have heard that colleges will then never offer you the work study. So we always recommend that students just answer yes. Are you male or female? In this case, the student is male, and I want to show this because it has some additional questions. Are you registered with a selective service system? In this case, the student has not yet registered. Do you want us to register you with them? In order to receive federal financial aid, students, male students, must register with the selective service system. So you want to click yes on there if you want to receive financial aid. So if you have a driver's license, you will enter that information there, and then the state that it was issued. Are you a foster youth or at any time in the foster care system? In this case, we're going to say no. So highest school completed by parent one. We're going to say that parent one is mom and she completed high school. Parent two is dad and he didn't complete, is either other or unknown. So on here, what is the name of your high school? And you can really just enter the city and then the state and click search. And it gives you the schools here in McMinnville. So it'll give you that information and click next. Here is where you're going to select the colleges that you want to receive your FAFSA. So do you know the college's federal school code? Their codes are listed on their website, but you don't need that. You can select a no on there and just enter the state. So in this case, we're just going to show you just a couple examples. And we're going to do Chemeketa. We recommend that all students add Chemeketa just as a backup option and click search. So we get this question a lot. It says, well, the city is Salem, and we do have a Chemeketa branch here in McMinnville, the Yamhill Valley campus. You are still going to be selecting the one that says the city for Salem. There isn't a branch for McMinnville or anything like that on the FAFSA because Chemeketa, their main campus is Salem. So you're going to select that one, and then you're also going to add some more schools on there, or you can just select one. You can add up to 10 schools at a time. So we're just going to do just a couple examples. So we're going to add Portland Community College and Portland State. So you've added 3 schools on here, then it's going to ask you for your housing plan. So if you attend Chemeketa, will you be living on campus, which is not an option, with a parent, or off campus? So you're just going to select your housing plan for those schools. You can also add more schools at this time if you forgot one. We're just going to click next. So again, we're still on student information. So what is your marital status as of today? This student is single. So do you now have, or will you have, children that receive more than half of their support from you between those dates? So nope, this student does not have any children. And this is to verify whether the student is a dependent student or an independent student. Then you're going to read through these questions. For most of our students, it's going to be none of the above, but you want to make sure that you read through these carefully, because in some cases, it might be the case that you can select one of those boxes. So on or after July 1st of this date, were you homeless, or were you self-supporting and at risk of being homeless? So again, based on the answers to those questions, this student is considered a dependent student, and they will have to provide parent information. So you're going to select yes, I will provide information about my parents. So now it's moving to the parent information here. So as of today, what is the marital status of your parents? In this case, we're going to say that parents are married, and you do need the month and the year. And we're going to enter a parent 1, their social security number. The parent's last name. And then their date of birth. So again, the email address for the parent cannot be the same as the student. So you want to make sure that you enter the parent's information. So now this is parent 2, and we're going to enter their information. And then have your parents lived in, and it would be Oregon for us, for the last 5 years? We're going to say yes. So now it's going to ask for the household size. So you entered 2 parents, so it's already giving you a 2 there. This is for yourself, so it's going to count you there. And then your parents' other children, even if they don't live with your parents, if your parents provide more than half of their support. So maybe you have another sibling that has already gone off to college and is not living with your parents, but your parents are still providing more than half of their support, or you have younger siblings or anything like that. So you're going to enter that there. So let's say you have one other sibling. And then other people, if they now live with your parents, and your parents provide more than half of their support, and will continue to provide that support. If not, it'll give you the total here. And then how many people will be in college? Let's say you're the oldest one, you're the only one going. If your parents are in college, you do not include them in this number. So it would just be yourself on here. Or if you have siblings that are going to college, then you would include them as well. So again, this is still parent information. So for this year, and that year will change based on what FAFSA you are completing, have your parents completed their tax return? So we're going to say, yep, already completed. And then you're going to select the tax return that they have completed. And in this case, they filed married and a joint return. So on here, you have the option to now link to the IRS website. And we recommend that students do this. If they give this as an option, and it will not always give you an option to link to the IRS, but if they give this as an option, you want to go ahead and try and link to the IRS website. Basically, what it will do, it'll ask you a few questions, and they're going to transfer that information from the IRS website onto your FAFSA. That's the easiest ways to not be selected for verification and just make sure that all of the information is correct. Of course, since this is a fake FAFSA, I can't link to the IRS because these are not real people. So I'm just going to click next. And again, it'll show you it's easier and faster to do it this way. So again, if you have that option, try and link to the IRS. So now you're going to enter the information on here, and you have probably seen that it has these little question marks on there that will give you some additional information on what it is that they are asking. So you can always click on those to receive additional information. So on here, we're just going to enter some information on there. So parent 1, which in this case we decided was mom, we're going to enter how much she made, and then dad. And I'm just using nice round numbers. So again, make sure that you're going through this. It tells you here where to look on. So on IRS Form 1040, look at line 13 minus Schedule 2, line 46. So you're going to want to read through this information. Again, if you have questions, you can click on the question mark and then enter if there is an amount for any of those. Same here. Then it'll ask, as of today, does the total amount of your parents' assets exceed, and it'll have an amount on there. It will be different for each family. And you can click on here so that you know what they mean by assets. So it's money in cash, savings, and checking accounts. Then it also has information of things that are not included. So if you answer yes, then it's going to give you some additional questions that you have to answer. If the answer is no, then you can just continue. Now it's switched back to student information. So now for this year, did the student complete a tax return? We're going to say not going to file. Maybe the student didn't work and they didn't have to file taxes. So in that year, the student was not working. And then you're going to answer these questions here. So for the student, as of today, what is the total current balance of cash, savings, and checking? Maybe you have $200 in a savings account. Then it's going to ask you, are you a preparer? This is someone that you are paying to complete the FAFSA. Just like it shows on here, this is rare. This is usually not the case. So the student is usually the one completing the FAFSA. Then it's going to give you an overview of what you just answered. So it has the address, has the schools that you added on there, the parent information, the student financial information, and now you're ready to be able to sign and submit. So on here, you're going to provide a student signature. Since you logged in using the FSA ID, you can sign that way. So you want to make sure that you review that, agree, and hit next. Then you're going to sign your FAFSA. Now it's going to need a parent signature. In this case, we don't have an FSA ID created for the parent. You want to make sure that you do that if they are eligible, but I'll just show you on here. So you can sign as parent 1 or as parent 2, and then it'll ask you here in a second for that FSA ID for the parent. There's also other options to sign and submit. So the best way, of course, is with that FSA ID. You can also print a signature page or submit without signatures, which is not something that we recommend because your FAFSA will be rejected. But in the meantime, we're just going to do that for this example. So it'll show on here. And then once you're done, hopefully the parent was also able to sign. Then you're going to submit my FAFSA now. So you're going to click on that button. It'll give you a confirmation page that shows that your FAFSA was submitted, and you will also receive an email with that information. So you don't have to print that confirmation page. You also want to make sure that you're checking your email regularly because they will also be sending you information if your FAFSA was rejected or selected for verification. And that's basically it. So that's how you complete the FAFSA. Next, I will show you how to complete the FAFSA if your parents are undocumented and will have to enter zeros for their Social Security number. So I will show you that here in a second once I get this all ready and reset for the FAFSA. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to create the FAFSA or complete the FAFSA if you're a student who has parents without a Social Security number. And the reason why I'm doing this second piece of it is because it'll give you some error messages as you're completing the FAFSA because you have to enter zero for Social Security number. So I'll show you how to work through that and then also how to be able to submit the FAFSA since your parents won't have an FSA ID. So in this case, I am the student. We have already created a FSA ID for the student. And so you will always have two options for the FAFSA. You're going to have the current school year and then the next year's school year FAFSA when you are doing this. So for seniors, you want to make sure that you are completing the FAFSA for the following school year because that's when you are requesting financial aid. You're going to create a save key. You want that to be. And since you created the FSA ID, some of your information will already be on your FAFSA. So for example, your Social Security number, your first name, last name, date of birth, all of that was pulled from the FSA ID. If you have an initial, you're going to enter that here and just click on continue. And you'll see on here that'll have student information, and most of the information will be student information, but you do want to be careful. It will switch to parent information here in a second. So the student's email address and then phone number. Again, for the email address, make sure it's not your school email. And that was pulled again from the FSA ID as well as the mailing address on there. So for our students, have you lived in, it would be Oregon for at least 5 years. And in this case, this student is a US citizen. So, what will your high school completion status be when you begin college for the next school year? So, you'll have a high school diploma. We're going to say that you'll be working on your first bachelor's degree and you will not have already earned your bachelor's degree by that date. So, it'll be your first year. Never attending college. So, are you interested in being considered for work study? We always recommend that students answer yes to this question. If you are eligible and are awarded work study, you don't have to accept that. But what we have heard is if students answer no, then they won't ever be offered work study. So we just say, go ahead and answer yes. And you can look at this question mark here that gives you some additional information about work study. So are you male or female? We're just going to say male in this case so that you can see on here that students, male students have to register with a selective service in order to receive federal financial aid. So if you have not already registered, it'll give you the option if you want them to register you. So if you're going to want to receive financial aid, then you're going to select yes on there. If you have a driver's license, you're going to enter that information. So are you a foster youth or at any time in the foster care system? We're just going to say no. So we're going to say parent one completed middle school, and we're saying that's going to be mom. Parent two maybe is other or unknown. So you're going to enter your high school's information. And so you can just enter the city and then the state, click search, and then you're going to select McMinnville High School from here. Now you will select the colleges that you want to receive your FAFSA. You can add up to 10. We're just going to do a few here for the example. Most students don't know the federal school code. If you do, you can enter that on there. It is located on the school's website, usually under the financial aid information. But in this case, we're just going to say nope, and we're going to look up the college. So we always recommend that all of our students add Chemeketa just as a backup option. So we're going to select them. Notice that the city says Salem on there. It doesn't matter if you're going to the campus here in McMinnville, the Yamhill Valley campus, or the Woodburn campus or Brooks campus. It is just Chemeketa Community College. The city will be Salem because that's their main campus. So you're going to add some more schools on here. We're going to add Limefield, and then let's just add one more. Okay, so we've added just some on there as examples. So then it'll ask you about your housing plans. So for Chemeketa, on campus is not an option. We'll say we'll live with a parent. Linfield, we're going to go ahead and say on campus. Western, on campus as well. Whatever you put on here, it's not going to commit you to anything. Those can change. So still on student information, what is your marital status as of today? Do you have any children or will you have children during those dates? So we're going to say no. And this is just to see if you are considered a dependent or independent student. You want to make sure that you read through these carefully, and if none of those apply, then you're going to select none of the above. So on this date, were you homeless or at risk of being homeless? In this case, we're just going to say no. So again, they ask those questions to see if you're considered a dependent or an independent student. Based on how we answered those questions, this student is considered a dependent student. So they will provide parent information on their FAFSA. So now it has switched, you'll see on here, parent information. So as of today, what is the marital status of your parents? We're just going to go ahead and say that they are married, and it's going to ask for the month and the year that they were married. Okay, so here is where it'll be a little bit different for those students that have parents without a social security number. So you will be entering zeros for the social security number if your parent does not have one. So it's important again that your parent has a different email address than yours. Then it's going to ask for parent 2, which we said was dad. We're also going to enter zeros. So in this case, for our students, it would say, have your parents lived in Oregon for at least 5 years? I'm going to go ahead and say yes. So it's already kind of determined your household size. So you entered 2 parents, yourself, and now you have the option of adding other people from your household. So your parents' other children, even if they don't live with your parents, and then you can read through that information. So let's say you have one other younger sibling. So it's a household of 4, and you will be the only one attending college during that school year. So now it's going to ask for parent financial information. So for that year, did your parents already complete their tax return? So we're going to say, yep, already completed. And they filed that form there, and then they filed married filing jointly. So on here now you can see that based on these responses, you're not eligible to transfer the information from the IRS, and that's because your parents had to put zeros for their social security numbers. So you will have to manually enter that information on there, and it tells you exactly what to look at. So on IRS 4010 or form 1040, you're going to look at line 7 for this information. And it's going to ask you how much did mom make, and then how much did dad make. And then again, you're going to look at, it tells you specifically where to look at on your forms. So you want to enter or look through this information, enter an amount if there's amount on there, otherwise it'll be zeros. Make sure you read through those. Now it's going to ask, as of today, does the total amount of your parents' current assets exceed this amount? And that amount will be different for each family based on their income and the household size. So if it is more than that amount, then you're going to enter that information here. And then if not, then you can just continue. And if you click on the assets, it'll tell you specifically what they mean. So include this information here. So money in cash, savings, or checking accounts. But the assets don't include, for example, the house that you live in, retirement plans, or things like that. So you can read through that information. Now they've switched back to the student information. So did you work? So we're going to say, nope, the student did not work, so they are not going to file. They made 0. And then you want to read through this information, enter an amount there if that applies, and if not, it'll be zeros. So how much of the student, what is the current balance of cash, savings, and checking accounts? Maybe you have $200 in a savings account, and then the rest is 0. So here is where it'll look different for those students. So it'll say the following errors have occurred. So you reported that parent 1 and parent 2 are zeros. So you're going to say, yep, that's right. I had to enter that information. You're going to click on check for errors. And it'll have you do that again. So it's saying, yep, the following errors have occurred. You entered zeros and you did that on purpose, and you're going to click on check for errors. Sometimes it'll have you do this 2, 3, 4 times. Finally, it'll let it go through and be processed. So that time it just asked twice. So are you the preparer? Just like it shows on here, that is rare. That would be if you're paying someone to complete the FAFSA for you. So nope. And then it's going to give you an overview of what you just entered. So it has the name, social security number, date of births, the colleges that you want to receive information, the answers to that dependency status, parent information, and then the student information as well. And now you're ready to sign and submit. So in this case, we're going to provide a student signature. So you're going to read through this information and then agree and click next. And you're going to sign this FAFSA. Since you logged in with the FSA ID, you're just going to click on sign in, and now it has signed your FAFSA. You have to provide a parent signature on here. Since your parents are not eligible for the FSA ID, they have to print a signature page. And so it'll show you. So you're going to print a signature page, and it'll pop up another window that you will be able to then print that page. So it shows here. So this is just an example. So this is what it will look like. It'll have your information on there. And what you will do is your parent will, once you print this, your parent will actually have to sign and date, and then you're going to mail it to the address on that form. Okay. So of course, we're not going to print it now, but you're going to go ahead and do that. And once you do that, then it'll allow you, once you actually print it, then it'll allow you to submit your FAFSA. Once you click on Submit My FAFSA, it'll give you a confirmation page, and that information will also be emailed to you, and you can review that information. You want to make sure that you're checking your email regularly so that if you are selected for verification or your FAFSA is rejected, that you can make sure that you review that information and take the proper steps that you have to. We always host FAFSA and ORSAA workshops in October once those applications open for our seniors, and then we host them throughout the school year as well. You can always come into our office in the Success Center, and we can help students one-on-one to complete the FAFSA or the ORSAA. And if you have any questions, make sure that you let us know. That's pretty much it for the presentation. Again, the link to this slide presentation will be in the description on the video. So make sure that you read through that so that you can look at the different resources that we have on here available to you. Again, if you have any questions, make sure that you see us in the Success Center. Thank you.